I'm going to show you two tools for accessing your MariaDB database. The first is MySQL Workbench. This is from MySQL, right? So you're actually downloading it from Oracle, but it works fine with MariaDB, right? We can use those tools. The really nice thing about the MySQL Workbench is it has an option to connect your database with SSH, right? So it basically creates an SSH tunnel to your database server, and then it uses authentication to MySQL to access the database server and work with it. So you just if you go to this website, it's mysql.com/products/workbench. You can go to download now. It's a free tool. It works in Windows or Mac. I think they have one for both. I'm obviously using a Windows machine here, but you can certainly use Mac if you want to. So once you do that, you're going to install it, and I'll show you how to configure it. So I have version 8, and I think that's the latest version on the website too. Mine might be a little bit different if there's a newer patch. They're always coming out with updates and newer versions of this tool. So over here, when you first open it, over here it says MySQL Connections. I'm going to hit that little plus sign that you see right there. That's going to open up a window to create a connection. I'm going to call it Info 365 MariaDB, right? Because that's what I called it on Google. Now, standard TCP/IP would normally work, but we can't do that because we'd have to set up the firewall on Google. And we could certainly do that if we wanted to, so we can connect directly over the internet to our database. In the real world, it's not the best idea to open up port 3306. So port 3306 is the default port for MariaDB. And we could just open that up in Google, and we can try that and use that with some other tools. But for this tool, just to show you that this works a little better with security, I'm going to do standard TCP/IP over SSH. And you can see I get a whole bunch of different parameters here. So the first part, the SSH host name, is the host name that I want to connect to using SSH. So let me come back over here. Here's the IP address for my machine. Oops. So I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to come back to my workbench and paste it in. And port 22, that's just the default port. I'm going to use the student account. I'm going to store the password in the vault so I don't have to keep typing it over and over again, right? Every time I connect, it'll just automatically save it, right? So now it's stored in the vault. Then the MySQL username is the same. The user account I'm going to use is student, right? And then I'm going to store the password in the vault. All right, I'm going to hit test connection. And it says here, cannot establish a connection. Are you sure you want to continue? I'm going to say okay. So I think, yep, we need to, I might have put the wrong password in. It's not letting me log into MySQL. So what we could try is, instead of using student, let's see if we can use the root password for the database, or for the server rather. Oh, it's not letting me log in with root. So yeah, sorry, we're the user account in SQL, the username is root, but when you store it in Vault, just leave it blank, right? Because this is not the operating system root password. It's just the MySQL root password. Sorry about that. Yeah, so don't put the root password in for Linux. But when you hit test connection, it's going to give you a warning, I think. Let's see what it does. Yep, it gives you a warning that it's not a standard version of MySQL. Of course, it's saying that because the version number is not aligned with MySQL version numbers, right? But we're going to continue anyway, and I'm pretty sure it's going to work, right? Let's give it a try. So I'm going to click OK, see if we can connect to it. So I'm going to go over here. So it creates this item for it, double click on it, and let's see if it works. And if not, we've got some other tools we can use to play with this as well. So I'm going to continue anyway. Don't show this message again. All right. So over here on the left-hand side, we've got all these different tools that we can work with, right? So there's the server status. We can see that the server is running, right? It gives us some basic stats. It's not going to work 100% because, again, it's not MySQL, it's MariaDB, but we're using a MySQL tool in order to connect it. You can see we've got these tabs across the top, right? So I can close that tab. Nice thing about this tool too is it gives you this nice visual indication of all the tables down here. Um, so let me move this down, and I can kind of hide this stuff up here, I think. But in any event, we only have this one test table, right? And it's only got a few columns, but it gives me a nice little tool I can use to go through and try to manage my database. So this is one tool that we can use to connect to SQL. Another tool we can use that's free uh, that I found online. There's a bunch of them online, but let me go back to my web browser. So SQL Yog is the other one. Um, this one is free. It works with MariaDB natively. Um, this is the community edition. It's also one you can pay for, but you can download this free community edition. Um, and it works pretty well. I'm going to tell you the only problem with this community edition, and let me go ahead and open it up for you. So I'm just going to create a new connection. Again, it's very similar um, to MySQL Workbench, excuse me, but the you can see that I can still connect with SSH, but only if you buy the professional or enterprise edition, right? The community edition doesn't support using SSH, so you have to log in directly to the server, right? So I'd have to, set up a username, a password on my server. I'd have to set up the firewall. We had to do all this other stuff. I might create another video where I show you how to do this, but we haven't really talked about user management yet with MariaDB. We're going to get there. We're going to talk about user management later. But for right now, we could just create a password for our root account. That way, it requires us to log in. Then we'd probably feel a little more comfortable opening up our database if we're going to use SQL Yog. So I'm going to record another video that's going to walk you through this. And then there's going to be another video that's going to walk you through building a schema for your database for our class, at least to get you started for our practical assignments that are coming later. All right, so make sure you watch the next video. We're going to cover that next topic.